Okay, recently a video on YouTube was published and a reviewer basically did the money shift on a 24 Toyota Tacoma with its manual transmission. They broke the transmission and Toyota said basically you did the money shift. This is the vehicle in question, a 24 Tacoma with its 6-speed manual transmission. Essentially the driver went down the road in 5th gear and chose to downshift from 5th into 3rd, but Toyota says he went from 5th to 1st and ruined the transmission. Alright, Toyota has officially said that high rotational inertia occurred and basically downshifted from 5th to 1st, and that's what screwed everything up. The classic money shift. It's a normal shifter on a 6-speed, as you can see. People like to go from 5th to 1st, or excuse me, 5th to 3rd, but they go from 5th to 1st. That's a classic money shift when people miss shift from 5th, thinking they're going into 3rd, but they end up going into 1st instead. That's kind of like a classic money shift due to the layout of these type of shifters here. And if you're used to a different type of car, these gates can be spread out more. So in other words, on the last car, it's spread out 5th. The gears are physically spread out more. And you think you're going into 3rd, 5th to 3rd, but you end up going over there to 1st gear instead. That's a classic textbook money shift or money downshift, whatever you want to call it. The point is the spacing in the gears here is the culprit, because your last vehicle that you're used to essentially has the gears spaced wider, and you end up doing the money shift. So it's important to note that this transmission, the RC60F, is not new. This is a decade-old transmission. It's tried and true. It's the classic Hilux RC60F Aisin manual transmission. It's a 6-speed. This thing debuted in the 2015 Toyota Hilux with its 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine. The torque output on that Hilux was only about 20 more foot-pounds more torque than the current 24 Tacoma. Now, if you're an American, you might think something like a Ford F-150 is a pickup truck. But to the rest of the world, meaning the entire rest of the world, this is the world's pickup truck. It's a Toyota Hilux. They've been around forever. And the 6-speed manual transmission inside this Hilux that's been on the road around the world, first world, second world, third world, and anything in between. It's been abused around the world in this turbo diesel for a decade now. It's tried and true. So unfortunately, it appears to be a classic money shift. Bad gear shift that damages the engine and leads to expensive consequences. Now, we've all done this, or I shouldn't say done it, but we've come very close, and we've almost done this before, whether you have a motorcycle, ATV, anything with a manual transmission. It allows you to have a lot of fun, but with all that fun, of course, comes that responsibility. And if you miss shift, it won't babysit you. There's no safety margin, unlike an automatic transmission, that will lock you out of a gear. If you do the money shift, that's it. Some people might argue that you should be able to go to 5th to 1st, but don't try that. Just don't do it. The video that we're talking about today did it for you if you want to know what happens. And that's not exclusive to the Tacoma. That's any car, motorcycle, boat, anything with a manual transmission. It's just not supposed to happen, and you're going to have bad consequences. I almost did the money shift one time in our Lexus GX 460 here. We were playing around, going up, windy mountain road here, and going pretty fast in S mode. And if you don't know what S mode is, it's basically like the manual mode where you can select the gears manually on an automatic transmission. So I'm flying up the hill in 6th gear. This is a 6-speed automatic transmission. And I was playing around and down and hit it in the S mode, and it put it in the 4th gear, and the RPMs were really, really high. And I said, "Oh, let me push it. Let me see what the next gear down is." And I tried to drop down from something like 4th gear at red line. So keep in mind, I'm at red line in 4th gear, dropping down to 3rd or 2nd. I might have kicked it down to 2nd. And since it's automatic, it'll beep, 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 and won't let me shift in from fourth to second or fourth to first or whatever I was trying to do. The point is, this rambling is it locked me out of doing the money shift. And that's, of course, a feature of automatic transmissions that lock you out. They lock you out electronically because it's the automatic transmission is doing the shifting for you, the computer shifting. You're not shifting at all. But in your 24 Tacoma, of course, with a manual transmission, there's not going to be any sort of lockout. Yes, I know there's rev matching technology, this, that, and the other, but that's rev matching. Once you physically move your hand and move these gears, you take full responsibility of where they land. And when you push in the clutch and let out the clutch, you take responsibility of when the engine and the transmission connect to each other. So again, of course, there's a lot of responsibility and there's no safety net. And again, that's part of the fun of manual transmission. You can push the limits, and that's what everybody likes about a manual, that race car, drag racing, downshifting nonsense that we all do in manual transmissions. But again, the money shift is always there to humble you. So I think Toyota's official explanation here makes the most logical sense based on Toyota's forensic analysis of the broken transmission and the video in question. Again, fifth to first is the classic textbook. Everybody does it, money shift. So if you're going to do a money shift, it's always going to be generally from fifth to first. Or maybe sixth to second, as you see here. Sixth to second is the other classic money shift. Now that we have had 6-speed transmissions for a while, but your gears in a manual transmission are in constant mesh. These gears are all connected. They're only connected and disconnected through essentially cone clutches and their synchronizers. And these cone clutches are connected to dog clutches, and they're meant to connect at relative speeds. And if the relative speed difference is too great, this is going to be an issue. And so, fortunately, I think it's just a classic senior moment, user error, whatever you want to call it. We've all had these senior moments. You get up and you're like, did I take my pill this morning? Did I not take my pill? Did I close that door? I think I did. We've all had them. I have them constantly. And it just happens. So let's not be quick to judge this transmission that's been around for 10 years now in the world market on a turbocharged pickup truck for 10 years. And is tried and true for that decade. Let's not be quick to judge the transmission itself, because when it comes to manual transmissions, their death is usually attributed to user error. When it comes to driving manual transmissions, you can have people that will destroy a clutch in 30,000 miles or less. And then you get people that can get them to last so the car dies. So my point is, there's a lot of they're susceptible to how the user treats them. That's what I'm trying to say here. So some people can make a clutch last forever. Some can make it last barely a year or two before they need a new one. And so anything with a manual transmission needs to kind of be taken with a grain of salt. Yes, I know this is not the manual transmission Tacoma, but pretend it is. You have to take anybody's experience with their manual with a grain of salt. My first manual that I bought way back was like a CRX, 88 CRX back in the day, and the original owner had replaced the clutch at 30,000 miles. And I bought it from him with a dead clutch, and I took it straight to a mechanic and he put in a new clutch, and it wasn't even OEM. I'm sure it was whatever Mickey Mouse clutch they had at the supplier back then. Right? So he put in a new clutch, and I drove that thing to 300,000 miles, and the clutch worked just fine. So it depends on how the user treats the clutch. Our 1995 Camry, which was one of the last cars we owned, had its original clutch when we outgrew it at 300,000 miles, and the clutch, the original OEM clutch on the same Aisin-made manual transmission. That was a 5-speed. Point is, the clutch gave out at 300,000 miles, the original, and the transmission shifted fine. But a fifth to first downshift will destroy. It didn't really destroy the clutch. It put everything outside of its design limit, for obvious reasons. And without any sort of safety net on a manual transmission, that's what happens. There's no way around it. There's no other car or tougher transmission or anything anybody can do to engineer a fifth to first shift to happen. It's not supposed to happen. It's part of the excitement, again, of a manual having that additional control. So, before you jump to conclusions and go, the new woke transmission inside of the new woke Tacoma is blowing up because of whatever your feelings feel. It wasn't designed right. Toyota messed up. They put a weak transmission inside of their Tacoma, and Toyota just wants to be cheap, and their engineers just don't test anything. The transmission falls off the transmission tree and just lands inside of the Tacoma, and then it goes on sale. These things have been tested forever. They've been dynoed, the engine's dynoed, the transmission's dynoed. They're tested in the real world. They're not defective because it's a 10-year-old manual transmission. But a money shift will destroy anybody's transmission. If you don't believe me, I double dog dare you to get into any car you want or any motorcycle. Well, maybe not a motorcycle. A motorcycle might be able to handle it because it's so light. But don't even try this in a motorcycle. It's dangerous. But I double dog dare you to get whatever car that has a 6-speed manual transmission and recreate a going down the highway or going down a road at X miles an hour and then go into first gear and see what happens. But seriously, don't do that. That's not safe nor wise. Now, again, there's going to be a claim that the driver went from fifth to third, but without any definitive proof. And the driver admits that that's what was going on in his mind. And that goes on whenever I have a senior moment. My mind goes fifth to third, but it goes fifth to reverse or whatever, whatever the senior brain wants to do, fifth to first, whatever. The point is, there's no definitive proof, and the driver admits that maybe he did, maybe he didn't. So, that's the evidence that we have here, but I'll say this. The definitive way to test it is to get inside of a manual Tacoma, recreate the situations, and do fifth to third. You should be able to do fifth to third all day, unless, you're doing something ridiculous like a zillion miles an hour. Now, of course, it's all dependent on the speed that the driver was going. But if that can be determined and you can recreate those conditions and do fifth to third, you're going to find that this Tacoma is going to do fifth to third, no problem. What it won't, however, do under those circumstances is do fifth to first, and don't try that. But I'm just going to be blunt and frank here. A lot of people, when they get inside of any vehicle with a manual transmission, they start to get into kind of race driver, boy racer mode. They start getting a little aggressive. You know what I'm trying to say here. They start getting, the adrenaline and the testosterone and the fun and shifting of the gears. And that's normal. That's fine. That is completely normal. It happens to me. It happens to you. It happens to anyone. That's the fun of a manual transmission. But again, with that fun and that excitement comes mistakes, comes human error, comes misshifts, weird downshifts, weird upshifts, all sorts of nonsense. And that's just what happens. It's a characteristic of driving a manual transmission. So it's more susceptible to driver mishaps. So even though it's highly, highly, highly improbable that there's a problem with the transmission, this RC60F that's a decade old now, That's kind of undoubtedly how it's going to get twisted and warped in the world of internet fear-mongering. But there are a ton, relatively speaking, okay, maybe not a ton, but there's lots of manual transmission Tacoma owners, 24 Tacomas out there with this manual transmission here. And I don't think you're going to find any manual transmission Tacoma owner that doesn't go from fifth to third under the conditions you saw in that video on a daily basis. In other words, if you didn't catch my rambling right there, right now on the road, there's Tacoma owners with manual transmissions going from fifth to third all the time, getting on and off on ramps, whatever the heck they're doing. It's a common shift, fifth to third. You're only skipping one gear, right? Fifth, I can't count. Fifth, fourth, yeah, one gear, right? So instead of two, right? I hope I'm counting right. My point of this mindless rambling is everybody goes fifth to third in their 24 Tacoma right now. The conditions in the video were not any sort of off-roading or anything weird or anything out of the ordinary. Everybody in their 24 manual Tacoma is going fifth to third under those conditions right now, around the clock, a million gazillion fifth to third shifts over and over and over and over again. But what they're not doing is a fifth to first shift. It's close, but that's a no-no. So keep that in mind. Everybody's doing a fifth to third shift going down this country road like you saw in the video without issue constantly. You know, it doesn't even need to be tested. It's happening right now and they're not blowing up. This was a good old-fashioned fifth to first money shift. Why? Adrenaline. Number one, manual transmission gets you pumped up. That's part of the excitement. Number two, on my old car, the gate was wider. So people, you know, everybody's manual transmission is different. If you're used to whatever vehicle you were in before that had a manual transmission, if the spacing between the gear, meaning the physical spacing, is wider, you're going to think that fifth to third is over here where, oh yeah, first gear is. It's normal, it's common, classic money shift, nothing else to worry about.
You know how a lot of us girls feel. Yeah, yeah. I put my heart in many hands. One thing it made me understand is that it's hard to find love real. Whatever's good, whatever's right. I hope you shoot me that tonight. I never had to love before. No. I put my trust in you, my friend. I hope you be there till the end. I don't believe in love no more. Always been told that I've got too much pride, too independent to have you by my side. And my heart said, only you will see. Yeah, just won't live for